Before we begin, I have started this new channel called Gamer Pradosh Cricket, where everything is going to be about Cricket 24 tutorials and Cricket 26 in the future as well. So if you want anything related to that, go subscribe to this channel. Begin, we need to talk. I acknowledge the fact that when there was no light around for a cricket game, you guys gave us a lightning entry which we all never expected, and this has grown into an amazing franchise which we are very grateful for. But that doesn't take away the fact that the games we have been receiving for last few years have been nothing but churned out versions with additional flavors added on and produced as a new product in front of us. I mean, yes, even though every game has seen some kind of leap with every version of release, the core issues have always remained the same, and I wonder if that is going to be the case with Cricket 26 as well, because that has been the pattern so far. See, let's be honest, releasing a game with bugs is understandable because when you are creating the game, you have a very limited amount of people who are trying out the game, so you might not come across as much bugs when the release happens and so many people play the game, so that is understandable. But the issue is you guys patch the game features after the release when the game has been released at a full price. So if the product is eventually going to get into the state it should have been released earlier, it is released at an early access stage. But that is not the way the game is treated as. If you had released the games at a discounted price and if you had asked people to come in for to test out the game, and as the patches get better and better, the game also gets better and the prices increase eventually. So after say 2-3 months of release, the price should be at a full cost of the game. But on release, it should be at a discounted price because you are releasing it on early access stage. But you guys haven't done early access so far. Now coming on to the leaps the game has taken from Cricket 19 to 24. Each game has received few animations, few new animations, few new bowling actions, batting animations, everything. But the issue is the core gameplay issues always remains the same in every game when it's released. For example, fielding in all the games have always suffered, and because of which the gameplay also suffers. So when the core issues remains the same, licensing just becomes addition of data into a game where there are more issues to already look into, which definitely affects the longevity of the game. So since we are talking about licensing, you guys have acquired a lot of teams in the past game, Cricket 24 basically, and we are very happy about it. But the thing is, when you are licensing stuff, when you are licensing teams, the thing we expect is proper looking players and the player animation. I understand player animations cannot be done for every player, so at least the player face has to be photogrammetry and released with that. But when you license it and say this team is licensed, but when it's released, or is just a version of academy created players, because we have better looking academy looking players, because we get better looking academy players from actual creators who have been creating for so long with the game. So what is the purpose of licensing in that case is something which is questionable, at least for me, because New Zealand, for example, I don't think have received all the players photogrammetry till now, which is an international team. It's a very well known team as well. But the only good thing about licensing so far for me personally are the stadiums. Now coming on to gameplay balance, this is something I have been wanting to talk about. The one big thing I feel began to have always suffered from is trying to balance out the game. Say for example, people say we want fielders to throw direct hit. You can't balance out between not being able to throw direct hit to being able to throw. You always lean towards the extreme. You are not able to find the balance, which I don't know why is the case. You ask for LBW and bowls not being able to happen in the game. You will either make it seem like everybody will get out LBW or bowl, or it will never happen. There is no balance, or there is no striking the midpoint or somewhere in the middle just to make sure the balance is there between different events happening. When fielders dive, they dive as if they are superhumans and they cover almost 3-4 slip cordon for the wicketkeeper to be able to dive and take those catches. When that balance is not hit properly, it creates an imbalance in the gameplay itself, which affects the core gameplay of the game as well. I mean, I understand the depth of the game is so complex that it is very difficult to balance things out and actually hit the right mark with regards to many elements. But the issue is you guys add more layers to it than making it simple enough for you to balance it out. So when the core itself is so complex and you keep adding more layers, it will just become more complicated for making changes in the game, which also feels like the reason the game is dependent on timing for almost everything to happen while batting. And then there is the case of AI predictability while they are batting, when they are bowling, because you know that they have to hit boundaries or they have to get certain amount of runs. They will try to get those edges through the gaps for boundaries. They will do something weird to counter attack and try to get what they have to achieve. So the next thing is the career mode. You guys have been adding the career mode for so many games till now, but nothing much has changed over the years. You have added some spa and exercise, gym and stuff, practice sessions and everything, but none of those has a proper impact on how the game or the player turns out to be in career. When those don't have actual effects, why even have extra elements which just seems like it can be ignored very easily? You don't have objectives in the game, you don't have the captain challenging the player to do something in the match, like take 2 wickets, get 50 runs. Say for example, the captain comes and says that you are being promoted to number 3 or 4 and we want you to score so and so runs just to make sure that you can fill up this position and be that stable strength for the team. So such challenges will make the player have a role and responsibility for being in the team. None of those elements are there in the game, which makes the career mode just a simple mundane chore. I mean, in DBC 14 we had a point system for playing a bad time shot. So if a cover drive is played with a bad timing, then cover drive will have -2 to it. So the cover drive shot skill will reduce. So that allowed you to have extra or minus based on how well you played those matches. But that element never made it through to any game after DBC 14, if I am not wrong. Now coming on to decision making, we have all supported you since DBC 14 and we continue to do so as well. And the main reason for that is we see the potential in the game, we see the depth you guys create in those gameplay, but the issue rises when you have to patch the game after release to reach the base game it should have been released at. Say for example, this is the state of game the game should have released on. This is where it releases. Now the first 2-3 months you keep patching the game till it reaches the release potential. Now the issue is when you reach the release potential after a certain amount of months, can you improve the game after that? Because after that then it's time for the manpower to move on to the next game because you have other games lined up. Now when does the game actually reach its potential? So when there is not much time for the extra step to be taken, when the game base release happens after 2-3 months, when can the extra few steps to take that extra leap will happen? It can never happen. Say for example, I will take the Cricket 24 example. On launch, you guys launched the game at a full price, but the game had previous Cricket 22's HUD completely copy pasted, which caused lot of backlash, and you guys outdid yourself by creating a new set of HUD for each format and also allowing the score only HUD, which I love. So even though the HUD issue was sorted out, it shakes up the community in a very wrong way. See, time constraints, budget constraints, manpower issues, or how much manpower is being put in and all is company side of things. As consumers, we never know how much work goes into making certain things, but what we know is what the release date is and the state it releases in. That is all. What we see is what we talk about. So when the consistency in inconsistency of release happens, the trust element starts fading a bit with each release. So that trust element, even though we know that the game will get patched to a certain level and it will reach that level which we want it to be, the leap never happens. See, at the end of the day, it is a business. You are trying to sell the game at a certain price, and the consumers have to, or the gamers have to feel that what they paid for is worth it. It's as simple as that. And that's how they have to look at it as well. I know how passionate people working in the company are, since I have worked with them closely, having been in the beta testing since Ashes cricket time, because I have seen them literally give us builds after midnight as well in their time, just to make sure people get what they're asking for. So the work which goes in is definitely a lot of hard work. There is no doubt about it. But why is this always the case after release? Why is rapid patching a thing every time people have to go through? Because as we know, rapid patching, two good patches, one bad patch, which will take the game back a few steps again. But again they will have to patch it up, and then they will go with another release which will have some issue, which will go two steps back. So this game of going back and front with the patches because of rapid patching, why is there a need for it to happen in the first place? And rapid patching cannot be portrayed as a good thing, because we don't want it to be the state of the game it releases in. We are not expecting rapid patches to be the normal big and cricket games path, but that has been the case for past few games. After release, rapid patching happens, then there is the eventual Christmas break and Christmas New Year break, and then they come back in January, and January, February, till February end or March, they will try to patch things up, and after that there will be a long gap because the game has reached to the state it should have been released in the first place. And lastly, I would like to talk about Ross Simmons. You guys know Ross Simmons from the Twitter, the guy who blocks, the guy who does all those things. But to me, he was the guy who came across to this amazing community called Planet Cricket, where he introduced himself as the CEO of this company called Big Ant Studios, and he wanted to release a game called DBC 14, which revolutionized cricket gaming for me personally, because the control system they introduced with DBC 14, the camera angle introduction of moving from the broadcast angle to the behind camera angle to just create this beautiful authentic cricketing experience just blew my mind. So I would like to share this event which I have never shared before. When DBC 14 Academy released, I faced an issue of black screen, and Ross Simmons used to communicate consistently in that forum, and I personally messaged him saying I am facing this issue, what can be done. He personally took it as an issue and then started working on it, but there were a lot of other things which had to be sorted out. So this black screen issue which only I was facing took a bit more time than expected. It was, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 weeks or something like that. So during these 4-5 weeks, I used to ask him about the status, and he politely always replied as to what the status was. After eventually got sorted out, I thanked him saying thank you for this, because the issue has been sorted out. He said he wants to appreciate my patience and give me something, and he asked for my mailing address. Me being an Indian, mailing address literally means, okay, he's asking for my email ID. I don't know what he's going to do and all, but I just shared my email ID with him. He was like, no, your mailing address. Only after a bit of back and forth of conversation, I understood that he's asking for my home address. And after that, I shared my home address with him. He said he's sending me something over just as a token of appreciation for my patience. And I was like, okay. And then I just left it. I just dropped the thing because my issue was sorted out. Everything was sorted. I was able to play DBC 14 in the nets and I was happy. But after 1 month or so, comes a package to my home where there are three big and studio bags. Big and studio bags. He gave me three big and studios bags. Why? Because that Ross Simmons, who is the CEO of Big and Studios, wanted to appreciate the patience of a consumer with this for what? Just a black screen issue. That is the kind of Ross I know. But I just wonder whether the Ross we see right now is that Ross who was passionate, who was waiting to make things happen, or thank you for watching, guys. I hope you guys found this rant fun to watch. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and thanks a lot for watching.